Hey, Browns fans, Spencer German with you as I come to you live from Berea. Another day of practice in the books for the Cleveland Browns as they continue the preparations for a big matchup against the Washington Commanders this weekend, looking to get back on track after this 1-3 start to the season. Some big stories from today centered around Nick Chubb speaking for the first time that we talked to him since the spring. Some guys who were out of practice today, others who returned to practice today. Maybe that's the natural place to start before we get to some of the Nick Chubb stuff. We also heard from Amari Cooper, which I'll play a clip for you as well. But the guys, there was a pretty lengthy list of guys who missed practice yesterday, and the majority of those players did return to practice today. The only players who are missing today from practice were Alex Wright, Jordan Hicks, and David Njoku. Alex Wright actually posted while we were out of practice on his, or actually while we were in the locker room talking to players, on his Instagram that his season was over, dealing with a torn tricep. And so that was some news that the team hasn't officially announced, but that he's likely headed to the IR, and that means his 2024 campaign is over, which is disappointing. Jim Schwartz had a chance to sort of highlight Isaiah McGuire as a guy who's going to be expected to step up in his absence. But a tough blow, another injury as we roll into another week here for the Browns, which these things just continue to, it feels like, pile up, similar to last year, and they're going to have to try to overcome these things. David Njoku, he was out there running routes yesterday. Was sort of there was talk that he was supposed to get a day off this week, so that doesn't necessarily seem too alarming. But Jordan Hicks missing a second consecutive day. Not sure exactly what that's going to mean from him, but not obviously trending in the right direction. In the terms of guys who returned, though, from Wednesday's session, Jack Conklin was back out there with the hamstring issue. Myles Garrett was back out there today. Greg Newsome, after a personal situation, was back today. Obo Okoronkwo, after dealing with an illness, was back. Ethan Posick with an ankle was back. Jedrick Wills back in practice today as well. And obviously Nick Chubb, Naheem Hines, Michael Dunn, and Pierre Strong for the second straight day. We're all practicing for Cleveland. So mostly good news on the injury front in terms of guys that were not out there yesterday and were out there today. Speaking of Nick Chubb, though, and he continues to be the story of the week, practicing for the first time in over a year. It's been 380 days, I think, since his return yesterday to the practice field. Still no word yet on when he's going to be playing in a game. And that was something he kind of alluded to when we spoke to him today for the first time in several months, where he just said, hey, when I feel good, I'll be out there. He's not quite there yet. Browns do have that 21-day window where he can practice, and then they have to activate into the 53-man roster. But I want to play you some of what he had to say just about his recovery process. He highlighted just the impact that the support from Browns fans had on his recovery and his ability to get back out there on the field, what it felt like to practice for the first time and more. Here's what Nick Chubb had to say.
Yeah, it didn't feel real. Felt like a dream. Like I've been battling this for a while now, so it was great to get all that off my shoulders and finally get back out there. Once you get out there and you're running around, it's like you're 8 years old again. It's like riding a bike, and that's not something that's in my head. You can't control that, so you don't go out there and play fast. Yeah, it means a lot. I love it here in Cleveland. I feel the love and support from everyone, everywhere I go, anytime I'm out or anything. I love it here, and it's definitely motivation for me to get back out there for all the fans.
Got a couple of Nick Chubb smiles today, which I would say is a success in terms of having a chance to speak with him. We know he's not one for smiling, so to hear him describe what it was like, sort of that euphoria of being back on the practice field again, even that was something that he really relished and is embracing while he waits to continue to make his a long-awaited return to the field. And so, again, we don't know yet when he's going to come back. Ken Dorsey spoke today, and he kind of said that they're going to they'll have a plan mapped out based off what the team doctors tell them in terms of when he's able to return and what that all looks like. But they're not rushing things as they have done with this process. They're very much being methodical in it. And that's probably the right move as they want to get him back full strength and ready to go to help contribute to this team. But it's just great, I think, to hear from Nick Chubb in general. And I know fans obviously take a lot of excitement from that because he's a fan favorite and a guy that might be looked upon here to sort of breathe some life into the season whenever he comes back. Again, the way the process kind of works from here, since he was activated this week, or sorry, not activated, since his 21-day window to practice was activated this week, he now has the next 3 weeks before the team has to activate him to the 53-man roster. At that point, if they don't activate him to the 53-man roster, he would then have to revert back to the PUP list. So continuing to monitor that situation. We'll see what that means for his return. But basically, in the next month, you can pretty much guarantee that Nick Chubb is going to be out there for the Browns at some point. Along the lines of the struggles of the offense to this point, and guys who obviously are being looked upon to step up and make an impact. Amari Cooper also met with the media today, first time since his game the other night in Las Vegas, where he had that key drop that led to an interception, had the touchdown that he scored taken off the board because of the holding penalty on Nick Harris. And it was sort of an emotional roller coaster that he had to kind of go through in that game. He talked about, though, rebounding from that, much like he did early on in the season when he struggled for a couple games, and sort of hinted at having a breakout performance in store this weekend in Washington.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do wish I could erase memories from my brain, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So you do have to be extremely resilient. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but it's part of being a pro. It'll be better to not have it happen in the first place. To just catch the ball. So, yeah, it can be difficult. For sure.
Anything happen on that play, or it's not squeezed?
Yeah, I just didn't squeeze it. Yeah.
After the Jags game, you kind of called your shot for a bounce back. You said you've been here before. Are you ready to do that again?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the way the cookie crumbles, the ebbs and flow of the game. Might not play good every week, but it's all about the next week. You got to put certain things in the rearview mirror and just focus on the dash. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Make it clear, nobody in the Browns locker room has lost faith, or on the coaching staff for that matter, has lost faith in Amari Cooper. They still believe in him. Deshaun talked about that a little bit on Wednesday, just how he's going to keep going back to him. That's his guy. He counts on him. He knows that in order for him to succeed, he needs Amari Cooper. And Amari is the type of player throughout his career that even though he's had some lows or some bad moments, you can generally rely on him to bounce back. That was something Ken Dorsey talked about today, just his consistency and the way he goes about his work. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him bounce back in a big way this weekend against a Washington defense that is pretty susceptible to giving up some things and isn't necessarily the strongest unit that this Browns defense, or this Browns offense rather, is going to face. So some opportunities there to have a bounce back game. Amari Cooper, as he sort of joked about, wishes he could, do the Men in Black, wipe his memory from what happened in Las Vegas, but he's putting it behind him as a pro would do, and he's moving on. And if there's anybody you can count on to deliver some sort of bounce back performance, you would think it would have to be somebody like Amari, who has been, as steady as they come throughout his career, and is just off to a slow start this season. So we'll see what all that looks like for him on Sunday. Could certainly use it in a big way after the messy start that he's had here in 2024, and the messy start that the Browns have had in 2024, particularly on offense, as they continue to try to get this thing in hyperdrive and figure out what their identity is. Guys, I do want to thank you for jumping on in and following along with today's practice report. More coverage of your Cleveland Browns coming your way from Berea tomorrow. Myles Garrett will speak, and we'll have more stuff going on for you right here at the Cleveland Browns on SI YouTube channel, but also at si.com/NFL/Browns, Cleveland Browns on SI. I have a story up describing sort of what you heard there from Nick Chubb, just him talking about the emotion from fans that he's felt throughout his recovery and what it meant for him to get back on the practice field yesterday. We've had some other stuff go up, the Alex Wright news, much, much more. So be sure to follow along with all things Cleveland Browns over at Cleveland Browns on SI. I'm Spencer German. I'll talk to you guys soon. And as I said, be sure to follow along, like the YouTube channel, follow the YouTube channel for Cleveland Browns on SI, and of course, get all your Browns news over at Cleveland Browns on SI.